Hello, Namaskar viewers. I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to this week's edition of the Tax Talk with Ajay. This weekly show, as you know by now, brings you all the latest that you need to know related to taxes. Yes, personal taxes or corporate taxes, what needs to be done, what have you done, and how you can do what needs to be done. Because the show is brought to you by SAI CPA Services, a complete professional, full-fledged accounting firm located in state of New Jersey with multiple locations, and they can assist you with your personal taxes, corporate taxes, or even IRS tax audit matter, bookkeeping, payroll services. If you need a virtual CEO or CFO, SAI CPA Services offers all these kinds of services only for you, so that way you can have your books right. Debit and credit is perfect, balance sheet and P&L is perfect, your personal taxes are done right because they believe in doing taxes right, and that's what you should be doing. Now we are in almost month of April. We got only a couple of weeks left, and in this show we're going to get very useful information and the tips from Mr. Ajay Kumar of SAI CPA Services. Sir, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you for the kind introduction.
How is it going? Busy?
It's busy. It's almost there. A couple of more weeks before the tax season. So it's not as busy as it was before March 15th. Our viewers, March 15th was the tax deadline for LLC, multi-member LLC and S Corp. Now the April 15th tax deadline is for the personal, individual taxes and C corporation or single member Schedule C type of LLCs. So it remains busy till April 15th, but it's not as busy. It was busier, comparatively speaking, till March 15th.
All right, good. So now we are here end of March, right? March is ending now as our show goes on the air. So we got 2 weeks to go for April 15 deadline. And I always say end of March is a very interesting time, because here there are taxpayers who got their tax refunds, and there are taxpayers who haven't filed their taxes yet.
Absolutely.
So here you are at a conjuncture where what do you need to tell to the taxpayers who have not filed their tax returns? One thing is for sure, that yes, go ahead and do file your tax return on time before April 15, whether you have to pay to IRS or whether you're getting money from the IRS, whatever that may be, you must do that. Now, in light of that topic, let's discuss with Ajay that, how does that work, the refunds and the original returns with IRS and whatnot.
Absolutely, Sanjeev. So as we covered in our last week's episode, if you have not filed your taxes, please try to file them as soon as possible. If you have the refund coming your way, you want the refund right away. You want the refund sooner. If you have a liability that you are supposed to pay to IRS, even when you are filing it now, you can always choose a future date. You can always put April 15th as the payment date. So filing now does not mean you have to pay now.
Correct.
Filing now means file now. If you are getting the refund, your cycle starts. You will get the refund sooner. If you owe money, pay it later, pay April 15th. And for any reason, if you cannot file it before April 15th, say for example, if you have Indian exposure, meaning you file the taxes in India, the country India works on a fiscal year basis, there the year is April 1st to March 31st. So the taxes are filed in India in the second quarter before June end. So then you have to file extension over here. In those cases, try filing the extension, and remember, the extension is only for filing the taxes, not for making the payment. If you are expected to owe more than $1,000 on your taxes, you are expected to pay this amount before April 15th. So when you file the extension, choose the amount that you want to pay, estimate the amount, and put the payment date anytime before April 15th.
Okay, so that's what that one, and that's for the current year tax returns. What if someone has not filed a tax return in the last year or two? What kind of advice would you give it to them?
Well, file it as soon as possible. Again, if you owe money, whenever you file, IRS will compute the interest and penalties for all the prior years. Let's say 2021, the tax return was supposed to be filed by April 15th of 2022. In that case, if you file it now and you owe money, now you are on the hook to pay interest from April 15th of 2022 till you make this payment, and they will try to charge the penalty. So you are not really saving anything even if you owe money, sooner or later system will catch up to you. IRS has 6 years to come back to you after you file the taxes to see what you owe. If you made a mistake, if you missed a document, if you don't file it, they can come back to you anytime. And you wonder, what if I don't file? How would somebody know? All your 1099s, all your W2s, all your income, 1099K, 1099 miscellaneous, 1099 NEC, a copy of all those documents is filed with IRS and the state. So you'll be surprised to find out how much IRS already know about you. If you don't file your taxes for multiple years, IRS will create a substitute return, a placeholder return, and will send you the bill. In their placeholder return, just because they don't know what expenses you incurred against the 1099, so they will discard all the expenses. And now you're on the hook to pay taxes based on what they filed for you. So before IRS files a substitute return, it's in your best interest to file your own return.
And just like you said that, IRS, meaning federal and the state government, has all the records with them, 1099s, W2s, NECs, because they're all backed by taxpayers' social security number. So they can't really escape, If they think, no, I'm not going to file taxes, that means I won't have to pay to IRS, but eventually it's going to haunt you and come to you in 6 years or after 6 years.
Absolutely. If you go for a loan, if you go for a mortgage, if you go for a line of credit, they will ask you
last 2
years tax returns,
yes.
bank statement copy. This is a common request. They will ask you to sign something called 4506, where they can pull the transcript directly from the IRS system.
Correct.
So it's a good idea. You are part of the system. Make sure you file your taxes. If you have a refund coming your way, then get it sooner. Why wait for 3 years? The worst part is a lot of people who qualifies for child tax credit, earned income credit, meaning who have below threshold income, they are the ones who are not filing the taxes. They are the ones who are not getting the benefit of filing the taxes, and the government is not chasing them only because government is expected to pay a refund. Government only chases you when you are supposed to pay something back to the system. When you owe money to IRS, only then you get a letter from IRS. When you're expecting a refund, IRS is not sending you, please file the taxes, we want to pay you $5,000. That's not how it works. So if you get a letter from IRS, it means you owe money to IRS. IRS does not send you a letter, please file the taxes for 2020, 2021, we want to pay you. The IRS does not do that. The obligation remains on you to make sure you file your taxes on time, before time.
Okay, all right. So on that topic, refund, let's talk about if a taxpayer filed their tax return a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and they haven't gotten refund. How does the refund process works? That's my question number one. And if IRS, can go back a couple of years to see the taxpayer's refund is actually sitting in the IRS books, and the taxpayer is entitled to that refund, how they can get the refund, what they need to do?
So let's look at first question first. If somebody filed a tax return, how long does it typically take to get the refund, and how can you as a taxpayer find out when are you going to get the refund? So 9 out of 10 refunds on an average, 90% of the refunds are given out within 21 business days.
21 business days.
21 business days. Okay. So 90% of the refunds will be released, come to your account in 21 business days. If you want to check where it stands, you can always log in. You can go to irs.gov/where-is-my-refund. That's the website actually. Or put on Google, where is my refund IRS? And you will see the first link, www.irs.gov/where-is-my-refund. You put in your name, last name, social security number, the amount of the refund that you were expecting, and you will see the complete status over there as when the refund was processed, if it's under process, if it's been approved, if it's been refunded back. So you will see a lot of information over there. If you see the refund is under process, give it some more time. IRS will not entertain the call for the first 21 days. After you file your taxes, you must wait for at least 21 days before you can call IRS. After 21 business days, if you have not seen the refund, you have the IRS hotline. please call 1-800-829-1040. Again, the number is 1-800-829-1040. This is IRS hotline for personal taxes. But please wait for n number of days, wait for 21 days before you call this number.
Okay, so that's the number for them to find out the refund. And nowadays, as taxpayer would know, that refund is directly sent to your bank account, because then your bank account is linked with the taxpayer. Those days are almost gone where IRS would send a check out to you. I mean, IRS do send out checks right now, for corporate taxes and corporate tax returns and everything. There are checks still going out. If they find something that a taxpayer is entitled to get more refund, they will send out a check and whatnot. But mostly, it's directly into the bank account. Now, let's say if somebody filed a tax return and their refund is questionable, okay? Maybe they got less money than they should have gotten, and their refund is sitting into IRS's books. How you can get that, and what you need to do to find out if you have any refund available from the past 3 years if you filed a tax return. And if you didn't file a tax return, why April 15 of this year is a crucial date for you to file a tax return of any of the last 3 years. That's all coming up after this messages. Stay with us.
Did you know IRS has $1 billion, not million, $1 billion that IRS is holding against 2020 potential tax refund? There is $1 billion that people can claim from IRS by filing their 2020 taxes before April 15th, 2024. If you don't file your 2020 tax return before April 15th, you will lose the right to that refund. $1 billion.
All right, so thanks for making that correction. So now, okay, this is how it works. Before break, what I said may be a little bit different than what Ajay is saying right now. In case if you did not file your tax return for the year 2020, somehow IRS figured it out that you are entitled to get refund, correct? Am I right?
Well, so a lot of people, especially the lower earning people, they don't file the taxes because they assume they don't need to file the taxes. Correct. They forget that IRS has a special tax credit, special benefits for people who are not making enough money, who are not making certain threshold amount of money. So IRS pays $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 to these people depending on how many dependents they have, how many children they have. Correct. So in those cases, we know based on your social security number, based on your history, how much income you made, we know how many dependents you have, so we know how much potential refund you can collect by filing the taxes. But if you don't file it, we are not going to tell you. This is the IRS rule. So a lot of people have not filed their taxes or have not corrected their taxes. And that's why IRS is sitting on $1 billion, which IRS can refuse to give you after April 15. The rule is, Sanjeevji, all amendments, all taxes have to be filed only for 3 years, meaning you cannot file a 2020 taxes and request a refund from the government after April 15, 2024.
Okay.
You have only 3 years.
All right. So this is a year to catch up with 2020, and then next year will be 2021, and
That's
then
right.
2022.
Absolutely.
So there's a 3-year window for you to catch up. IRS gives you that much of a time, and they are also willing to give you refund also. But that refund is going to come after the penalty and late something, right?
Well, so
because if you file the tax return after 3 years,
especially if you have a refund coming to you, then they will not charge you penalty.
Okay. And
there will not be any late filing interest only because they owe the money.
Correct.
They will be happy to give you the money and give you some interest around it.
Okay.
The only downside is the onus, the responsibility remains on the taxpayer to know when to file, how to file, and make sure the tax return is filed. Otherwise, if you don't file the taxes, IRS is not going to give you the refund.
Yep. Okay. All right. So that matter is now cleared. So in case if anyone hasn't filed the 2020 tax return, this is the time. Make sure that you do it for before April 15. And speaking of April 15th and filing your tax return, we always say that, and I want to take a minute out to say that you must file your tax return because you are living in this country, you're a citizen, whatever your immigration status might be. If you're working, earning money, you're getting W-2, 1099, 1090, NEC, whatever that is, file your tax return because everything is connected through your social security number, and file your taxes right, do it right. And that's why SAI CPA services is for. In case if you are stuck somewhere where you didn't file your tax return, or maybe you're not happy with your current CPA and need to change it and need an advice and guidance from someone, then you should contact SAI CPA services because they're on-hand, professional, knowledgeable CPAs will guide you in the right direction, and AJ is always there for you to help you out, whether in-person meeting, over the phone, or even on a Zoom. Everything is possible, but make sure that you do your taxes right, and for that SAI CPA services can be your best alternative. You can reach them at 908-380-6876. Now moving on to this issue now with refund. You were going to say something about current taxpayers return refund.
Absolutely. So just to continue the thought, if you are expecting a refund, you have 21 days. Typically 90% of the refunds are given out in 21 days. Otherwise, you can call IRS and find out what happened. A lot of people find themselves in a situation when their refund amount is not what they were expecting. So just so you understand, there are mainly two reasons. There could be other reasons as well, but mainly there are two reasons. First reason, when IRS was processing your return, you missed a document. There was something that was missed: interest income, dividend income, some 1099 NEC. So while processing the return, IRS factored some information which was not provided with the original return, and that changed the refund. Meaning IRS knew some more information on you, about you, than what you submitted yourself for the tax return.
Okay.
That could be the first reason why the tax refund is lower or higher than what you were expecting. Second reason potentially is when you owe money from prior years. Let's say this year you're expecting a refund of $3,000, but from 2021 you owe $370. Then suddenly that $370 is deducted out of your current refund, and that's why your refund is lower. But you can always go to irs.gov. It's a very good idea to go to irs.gov, create your own profile over there, create your own login password over there. There you can see for each year when you file the taxes, as what's the transcript over there, if you owe anything, more of a compliance check for you. But you must be filing your taxes on time every year.
Okay, all right. So now let's say, picture a scenario here. Taxpayer files a tax return on time, it's done April 15, and in this scenario, taxpayer owes money to IRS. So sends a check out and pays whatever it's due and everything good, right? Sometime after, maybe a month or two, the taxpayer realizes, and with consulting with their accountant, CPAs, they realize that they missed some transactions, they missed some documents, and if they were to include those transactions in the tax return, taxpayer would be getting a refund instead of owing money to IRS. In this case, this would be an amended tax return. How does that work between the refund and owing to IRS?
Well, so if you filed an original tax return and you owed the money, and if you waited for 1 month, 2 months, so more than likely you have already paid the money. And then you found a document, let's say you had stock transaction losses. You got a 1099 where you had large losses, and now you can claim $3,000 of losses, and that's creating a refund for you, changing the liability from refund. So IRS will not only give you the refund, will also give you the money that you paid because you thought you owed the money if you were to file the amendment. Please understand, all the amendments can take 4 to 6 months, not 4 to 6 weeks. So amendment process takes much longer to get processed, to get in the system. And you have to remember, all the amendments are scrutinized, meaning people file amendment only to get money back from the IRS. So there is higher scrutiny on the amendment. So if you're expecting only $1, don't spin the wheel. Don't go through the amendment. Unless the amount that you're expecting, unless the change that you're expecting is significant enough, you don't want to be amending your taxes. If you flip the equation, Sandeep ji, let's say if you have a situation where you forgot to include some income.
Okay.
it's not about getting refund now. I was supposed to owe more than what I thought I would owe. And now I have a document, an income that I did not report. I had some interest income for $500 that I forgot to include. In that case, don't amend the taxes. IRS will factor that income and will send you the bill for a couple of $100. Your cost of amending the tax return may be higher in some cases than the amount of money that IRS can collect. But know for well, when you have a document that came a little late, it will be showing up in the IRS system eventually. So remember that, and if you see a bill from IRS related to that liability, just pay it off, and it's not a big deal.
Okay. If someone wants to call IRS, because you never know, people do think that I want to get a real information from a horse's mouth. If someone wants to call IRS, is there a hotline number that they can call and explain their situation about refund, not refund, tax return filed for what year, not filed? Is it possible? Are they IRS agents over the phone? Because I know IRS office, you can go in there and
you can go to the IRS office. You can call the IRS hotline, and the term that we use is called compliance check.
Okay.
You call IRS that I'm calling for compliance check. I want to see if I owe any taxes for prior years. I want to make sure I have filed all my taxes. Can you please do a compliance check on my social security number and my spouse social security number? Make sure your spouse is with you at that time to give the consent to the IRS. They will ask you some security related questions, name, address, social security number, etc. And then they can run a report for you. By the way, you can run that report yourself by going to the IRS website and creating your own account over there. But again, the hotline is 1-800-829-1040. 1-800-829-1040 is the IRS hotline for all individual tax returns.
Okay, interesting. Good to know. You never know. Somebody may want to reach out to them and explain their situation. There may be somebody out there, having very complex tax situation.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything you want to add about, foreign income, living and working in US, but generating foreign income, and how that should be included in their tax return here in the US?
Absolutely. So if you are living in US, working in US, but you have income from India, either through rental properties or some interest-bearing account or whatever accounts you have over there, make sure you're reporting the global income in the US system. If you're filing the Indian taxes, please consider filing an extension for the US system. So you wait for the Indian taxes to be filed, and then you bring that tax return copy to the US accountant so they can claim the taxes that you paid to the foreign government as a tax credit to the US system. So it's not a double taxation, Sanjeevji. If you pay some taxes in India, you have the right to claim the taxes that you paid in India as a tax credit in the US.
Okay, very interesting. All right, so as we are just winding down the show and we're very, very close, I just have one question. What is Form 1040X stands for?
1040X is 1040 amendment. 1040 is the original form. Whenever you see X at the end of any form, it could be 1040, 1120, 1065. X stands for amendment.
Was it always X?
It was always X.
It was always X.
It was always
okay,
X.
all right.
So all the forms you see, 941 is the payroll report, 1065 is partnership, 1120 is corporation. As soon as you add an X at the end, it becomes an amendment.
All right, good. Once again, viewers, as tax season is winding down. We got 2 weeks to go, 15, 17 days, however you count once you watch this show. April 15th is the deadline. Get your taxes done right. And God forbid, if you're in a situation where you are a head of household or even married, separately filing, divorced, people get into all these different situations. But regardless of that, put your stuff together, advise your spouse or children to put their stuff together, and make sure you file a tax return, because filing a tax return is one of the most important responsibilities that you have living in this country. And like I say, anywhere you get confused, whether it's your personal tax return or corporate tax return, you can always reach out to SAI CPA services for very reliable and a very accurate advice and the services to follow. Also, I want to let you know that if you have already filed your tax return, you got your refund and you're all squared and enjoying the refund that you got, Now, for the next year when you get ready, it's time for you to think where you can invest the money into what plans to save your tax liability for the next year. Perhaps you can get more refund. So that also SAI CPA services can guide you in that direction. All right, as we are winding down today's show, the Tax Talk with Ajay, it's time for Ajay to come up with a quote of the day.
So today's quote is, I could do great things if I wasn't busy doing little things. So focus on what's important in your life. Prioritize your life. Do what matters to you first before you get busy, overwhelmed with small things.
All right, very good. Thank you so very much. I would be very inclined to know what are the great things and what are the little things in the life, because I believe in the life, no matter what we do, they are all reasonable and the meaningful things that we do.
Absolutely.
With that note, we are signing off. Thank you so very much for watching the show. Next week, we're going to give you more information that you need to know when it comes to taxes. Ajay, thank you so very much for your time.
Absolutely.
Viewers, thank you for watching the show. I am Sanjeev Pandya, wishing you all happy and the tax-free days ahead. Keep smiling. Do take care of yourself. So long.
Thank you.